Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike. You are watching and you are listening to episode number 23 of the Rock On Wild Show. Now, if you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below this very video. You can also like and rate and comment on the Rock On Wild Show episode number 23 and spread the word. Share this video to your family and friends and let everyone know what the Rock On Wild Show is all about. If you don't know, this is a variety show where I cover some things in the world of music, movies, television, sometimes a bit of history and a little bit of pop culture. And I also react to some of my old videos as well. For the main event of this very episode, I am going to look over a list that TimeOut put out a little over a month or so ago called the Top 100 Best Movies of All Time that you should watch immediately. Last week I covered numbers 100 to number 51. For this very episode, I'm doing the second half from 50 all the way up to the number one's movie on this list. I have not seen this list before, so you will see my initial reaction once I go through this list. And like I mentioned earlier, I cover a variety of things, so we're going to look at on this day for June the 1st. That is correct. By the time this episode airs, it will actually be not the 1st, but the 4th. So for June the 4th, which I should fix in one of my tabs in just a moment. Perfect. Let's see, June the 4th. Great. All right. I am going to look at on this day in the world of pop culture, wrestling, and music for June the 4th, and I am going to react to an old movie review of mine for a horror found footage film called As Above, So Below. And there's a little bit of history with this movie. I don't know if I actually talked about it during the review, but this will be the kickoff for this very episode. So I am going to start the camera and start reacting to my old movie review for As Above, So Below. So let's get this going. I got the Bluetooth headset on here. I am going to present, share screen, As Above, So Below, and make sure the audio is on, of course, so all of you can listen. Let's go full screen with this. And let's react. In 3, 2, 1, go.
It's creepy. Look, I still got chills thinking about how creepy this movie was. Woo.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy.
Hey, what is up, all movie fans in the movieverse? Welcome to the Mike McRatt Movie Review YouTube channel. Right now I'm going to talk about a movie that I just came back from watching, and it is called As Above, So Below. And what this is a horror flick, and it's found footage. Now let's get the disclaimers out of the way before I talk about this movie. If you're not a fan of horror movies, then you're not going to like this movie. If you're not a fan of horror movies with found footage, then you're clearly not going to like this movie at all. And if you're very claustrophobic, stay as far away from this movie as possible, because holy crap.
I'll get to it.
Crap. Even my dad left for a few minutes and came back.
There it is.
That was funny. But moving on, As Above, So Below is a horror and found footage movie where a team of explorers ventures into the catacombs that lies beneath the streets of Paris, and they also uncover the dark secret that lies within the city of the dead. And this movie stars this really hot chick who is very smart. She has like 5 PhDs and can speak like a billion languages and 2 dead languages as well. So with that said, with the addition of her, I thought was really cool. And so was this movie. I thought the movie done its job. very well when it comes to the cinematography aspect. And what really separates this movie from other found footage horror movies is that it does the whole found footage aspect very well. I like the whole closed spaces, and I like how
Mhm.
that the characters in this movie were so uninteresting. You were just waiting for them to die off, and they die off one by one by one by
Yeah.
one until, well, not all of them are dead, but some do survive. So it does have its cliches. And the funny thing, usually in horror movies, the black guy always gets it first.
Hmm.
And the funny thing here is that this guy actually escapes death a couple of times until he finally does die. It was actually one of the funniest things I ever seen. And another funny thing is that this actually lacked in common sense, of course. I mean, there was a one scene where the ceiling was crackling, and one guy, when it was questioning, is that bad? Is that bad? Of course it's
It's
bad. Get out of there. Where's your common sense, you idiot? But like I said, this movie does have its problems, but I was actually entertained by this movie. What really entertained me is that there were sounds in this movie that were very creepy, and there were really eerie images throughout this movie. You had the skeletons on the wall, and when it got really intense with the whole hell vibe with this movie, it got intense to the core. I love the imagery where one of the people that was trying to go somewhere was just covered in blood, and they were screaming and everything, and it got really intense and it got really good. It does have its cliches, but there are a lot of cool moments in this movie. It's kind of like a mixed bag. You're either going to like this movie, but and you also may not like it. It's one or the other. So with that said,
right,
I
right.
really enjoyed this movie. And if I were to rate this movie out of 100, I would give this 68 points
Okay.
just for how this movie was on screen. Whatever you do, if you're claustrophobic, don't go see this movie. And and luckily thing, and luckily for me, I was able to sit through it in one piece. My dad, however, was a completely different story. So that was my review for As Above, So Below. And my question to you is, if you saw this movie, what did you think about it? Feel free to chime in, comment below, and tell me what did you think about this horror found footage movie. And also, you can also hit that subscribe button down below this video to get Mick Rocks.
So yeah, um, that was my that was my reaction to my old movie review of mine called As Above, So Below. Like I mentioned in that review, quite a bit of history there. But is it good history or bad history? That all depends on your perspective. Yeah, when it comes to this movie, I don't remember much other than the experience that my dad had mainly. Like I remember being in a horror found footage movie and all that, and they had to go through really really tight spaces, and my dad left for a few minutes and then came back. That's the most memorable thing about the movie. It's not so much about the movie, but about the experience watching the movie. That's all I have for that reaction to my old movie review. Mine for As Above, So Below. Now, let's get into what you really came for this episode, and that is a look at On This Day in the world of music, pop culture, and a little bit of wrestling as well. So, what we're going to do is that we're going to look at music first. So, let's present, share screen, and let's look at what happened in the world of music for June 4th in years past. Let me see, we got a picture of Bruce Springsteen right here. And it says right on top, Bruce Springsteen releases Born in the USA. On this day in music, June 4th, 1984, Bruce Springsteen released his seventh studio album, Born in the USA. Well, not me, obviously, but you get what I mean when you read this article. one of the best-selling albums of all time, Born in the USA found the boss taking a more pop-forward approach to his songwriting, particularly with hits like Dancing in the Dark, the synth-driven I'm on Fire, and the title track. The album produced an astonishing 7 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, including aforementioned tracks, all three of which also landed in the UK top 10, often ranked amongst the greatest albums of all time. Born in the USA remains Springsteen's biggest commercial success, with more than 30 million copies sold worldwide. And here's a look again at the picture of Bruce Springsteen right there. Let's scroll down and see what else happened in music on this day. For June 4th in 2019, Jay-Z was named the world's first hip-hop billionaire. In addition to his best-selling music career, the rapper also had a variety of entrepreneurial ventures, including his clothing line, Rocawear, his entertainment agency and label, Rock Nation, and his 4040 sports bar chain. At the time, Jay-Z had also recently acquired the music streaming service Tidal, Tidal, through a private holding company. For June 4th, 1983, The Police scored their fifth and final number one hit in the UK with Every Breath You Take. The Grammy and Ivor Novello winning song also became the British group's sole chart topper in the US. It remained there 3 for 8 weeks. In 1997, the body of the late singer-songwriter Jeff Buckley was recovered in the Mississippi River. On May 29th, Buckley disappeared after going for a swim. The artist had recently relocated to Memphis, where he recorded a follow-up to his acclaimed debut album, Grace. Gone but not forgotten. And in 1967, the Beatles began a 23-week run at the top of the UK album charts with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The broadly influential concept album also topped charts around the globe, including in the US, Australia, Canada, and West Germany. And here are some birthdays that happened. For June 4th, we got Freddie Fender, born in 1937. Michelle Phillips from Mamas and the Papas, born on June 4th, 1944. In 1945, Gordon Waller from Peter and Gordon. In 54, Mickey Dredd. In 74, Stefan Lizard from the Dave Matthews Band. Born in 1976 on this day, Casey Chambers. Born on June 4th, 87, Monty King from the Saturdays. And from 1990, born on June 4th of 1990, Zachary Farrell from Paramore. And that's some of the things that happened on this day in the world of music. Now let's look at what happened in the world of professional wrestling on this day for June 4th. There's a picture there of Jeff Hardy on the left and Sheamus on the right. And it looks like they're in the steel cage match there. So let's see what happened. Let's scroll down here. In 2002, at a SmackDown taping in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Billy and Chuck defeated Rico and Rikishi to win the WWE Tag Team Championships in a tag team elimination bout. In 2011, Mick Foley is granted his release from TNA Wrestling after a run that included him winning the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. In 2017, 2 titles changed hands at WWE Extreme Rules at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. Firstly, The Miz won the Intercontinental Championship from Dean Ambrose in a steel cage match. The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro defeated the Hardy Boys in a steel cage match to win the Raw Tag Team Championships. In the main event, Samoa Joe became the #1 contender for Braun Strowman's Universal Championship after winning a fatal 5-way match against Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. And here are some birthdays that happened on June 4th in years past and decades past. Riho was born in 1997. John Silver, born in 1990. Born on June 4th, 82. Jazzy Gabbert. Born in 73, Mikey Whipwreck. Born in 1955 is Joe Malenko. And born on June 4th, 1937, Gorilla Monsoon. An absolute legend and icon in wrestling. Now let's look at what happened for pop culture events that happened for June the 4th. Again, this is something I'm choosing to do instead of film and television because for the main event, I'm going over a big list. So let's look at what happened in the world of pop culture for June the 4th in years past and decades past, and also centuries past, because look at this. We're going all the way back to 1784. But before we get to this, we got stuff like Cheese Day, which is June 4th. We got Clean Beauty Day, Cognac Day. I have to look that up. Corgi Day, Hug Your Cat Day, National Old Maids Day, and National Safe Day. Old Maid, huh? That's odd. Anyway, in 1784, Elizabeth Tibble was the first woman to fly in an untethered hot air balloon, flying for about 45 minutes. In 1812, following Louisiana's admittance as a U.S. state, the Louisiana Territory was renamed the Missouri Territory. In 1876, the Transcontinental Express arrived in San Francisco, California in only 83 hours and 39 minutes after leaving New York City. In 1895, Joseph Lee was issued a patient number 540,553 for a bread crumbing machine. 1912, Massachusetts became the first state of the United States to call for a minimum wage, although not specific, for children under 18 and women. In 1919, U.S. Congress approved the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which granted voting for women and sent it to the individual states for ratification. 1937, the first shopping carts were introduced at the Humpty Dumpty supermarket in Oklahoma City, created by the store owner, Sylvan Goldman. In 1957, the first U.S. commercial long-distance coal slurry pipeline, 108 miles long, began delivery from a coal mine from the Georgetown Appropriation Plant of the Hanna Coal Company in Cadiz, Ohio, to the Cleveland Illuminating Company Power Station in East Lake, Ohio. In 1974, during a 10-cent beer night, inebriated Cleveland Indians fans started misbehaving, causing the game to be forfeited to the Texas Rangers. In 1976, the gig that changed the world. A few dozen people saw the debut of the Sex Pistols at Leicester Free Trade Hall in Manchester, England. In 1986, Jonathan Pollard pleaded guilty to espionage for selling top-secret United States military intelligence to Israel. In 1989, the Tank Man halted the progress of a column of advancing tanks for over half an hour after the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989. And there's a couple of number one hits here. We have We Belong Together by Mariah Carey, which was a hit from June 4th to July 1st, 2005. And hit number one, June 4th, 2022 to July 1st, 2022, As It Was by Harry Styles. And that is all the things that happened in the world of pop culture. And now I do believe it is time. for the main event of this very episode. We're only 20 minutes in, and I think that is a great time to do and to really get through this list, part 2. And like I said before, last week I done 151. This week I'm going to finish the rest. I'm going from number 50 to number 1. This is a list from TimeOut called Top 100 Movies of All Time that you must watch immediately. And like as you see on this title of this very episode, I am slowly working on a big movie list. that list will be my favorite movies of all time. And this list right here is going to help a lot tremendously to really push this list forward. So let's present, share screen, and here we go. So, number 50, Breathless. This one came out in 1960. This is directed by Jean-Luc Godard. Cast Jean-Paul Belmondo and Gene Seberg. I've never heard of this movie at all. Let's move on from this. Number 49, Modern Times. That is one I would like to check out because look who is in the picture here. This one came out in 1936. It stars Charlie Chaplin and is directed by Charlie Chaplin from the silent era. Number 48, Battleship Potemkin. If I pronounce that wrong, correct me. This one came out in 1925. I have a feeling this is a silent era movie. And there's the director there, Sergei Einstein. And there's a cast of actors there. They all look like they are Russian names. Yeah, I'm looking at the synopsis here, and it has to do with the Soviet propaganda. That is definitely Russia. It's probably, again, a silent era type of film from 1925. Good to know your history. Number 47, Night of the Living Dead from 1968. That is on my must-watch list right now as of this point. I have not seen this yet. This one came out in 1968. And it looks like a good movie. It's directed by George A. Romero. And it stars Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Dea, and Marilyn Eastman. I am interested into watching that. Number 46, Spirited Away. This is an animated movie. I have heard of it only by name. This one came out in 2001. I'm not really overly interested or desired to actually watch this, but there's a voice cast there, and it's directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation on that. And it's a Studio Ghibli film. I've actually heard of a couple of them. One is called Grave of the Fireflies, and this one is Spirited Away. Number 45 on this list, You Talking to Me? Taxi Driver from 1976. That should definitely be on here. This is one I have seen definitely once. I would definitely like to watch it again. This one stars Robert De Niro and Sybil Shepherd, Harvey Keitel, and Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster was really, really young in this, and maybe one of her first films. And of course, this film is directed by one of the greatest directors of all time, the guy that loves Marvel movies, and I say that jokingly, Martin Scorsese. I mean, if you haven't heard of that movie, that is one you really need to watch. Number 44, Lost in Translation. I have never, ever watched this. I've heard of it by name. This is one is directed by Sofia Coppola. It stars Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. And so there are some names in there. A little bit of a desire to watch it, but I'm not quite sure just yet if I do want to. Number 43 on this list, The Seventh Seal. This one came out in 1957. And I don't know. I mean, the guy on the right here looks a bit like Alan Tudyk, but it's almost like he would have to travel the time at the same age he is. That is weird, man. So 43, The Seventh Seal came out in 57. Max von Sydow, I know who he is. He's in this movie. Directed by Ingmar Bergman. It's definitely one of those old movies. It might be in black and white. That's what I'm guessing based on the look of this picture here. And and they're playing chess. These two people are playing chess. And I do love a game of chess. So a little bit of interest, just a little bit. Number 42, Chinatown from 1974, directed by Roman Polanski, starring Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway, and John Huston. That might be a decent flick. I have some desire to watch it, mainly because Jack Nicholson is in it. Usually anything he does is all right. Number 41, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg from 1964. I have never heard of this at all. This one is directed by Jacques Demy and stars Catherine Deneuve, Anne Verman, Nino Castelnuovo. Correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation. I've never heard of that movie. I don't know if I want to see this movie. Number 40, Andrea Rubolov from 1966. I have no idea what this movie is. Never even heard of it. I don't know if I want to see it. This one is directed by Andrea Tversky, starring Anatoly Solistin, Ivan Lopolov, and Nikolai Grinko. Correct me if on the pronunciation. Number 39, Sancho the Bailiff from 1954, with a cast of names I am not going to pronounce. This one is Japanese cinema, and that's a movie I have no desire to watch at all. Number 38, here we go. Now we're getting into some of the good ones and the great ones. Number 38, from 1960, Psycho, an absolute classic of a movie. And really, this movie really stars Alfred Hitchcock, even though it is directed by Alfred Hitchcock, but he truly is the main star, the main focal point of this movie. This is all his movie. And really, when it comes to the cast here, when I'm looking at it, we got Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, and Vera Miles. I love this movie to no end. It's one of the great horror movies of all time and one of the great movies of all time. So I'm definitely considering that to be in my list as well. Number 37, Lawrence of Arabia from 1962. I have heard of this movie by name, but I've never seen it. Directed by David Lean, starring Peter O'Toole, Alec Guinness, Anthony Quinn, and Omar Sharif. Again, correct me on the pronunciation. I have very little desire to watch it, but I don't know if I do want to watch it. Some interest, but not much. Number 36, In Case If I Don't See You, Good Afternoon, Good Evening, and Good Night. The Truman Show from 1998. I have watched this. I watched this when it came out, and I haven't watched it since. That's a movie I wouldn't mind watching again. This one stars Jim Carrey, one of the great comedians of all time, Laura Linney and Ed Harris, and it's directed by Peter Weir. Number 35, another one of the great movies of all time, and one I'm considering putting on my list as well, from 1994, Pulp Fiction. And if you're a fan of movies, you know exactly what this movie is. This one's directed by one of the great directors of all time, Quentin Tarantino, starring John Travolta, right? Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, and Bruce Willis. Really, that movie has an all-star cast of actors in it. Number 34, Tokyo Story from 1951. This is one I have never heard of at all. This has a cast of actors in here that are probably, I'm guessing, Japanese or Chinese, or in somewhere around those areas. Yeah, that's one I've never heard of, and I have no desire to watch it either. Number 33, Alien from 1979, one of the best horror movies of all time. Absolutely no question, and this movie deserves to be on this list. Directed by Ridley Scott, starring Sigourney Weaver, John Hurt, and Tom Skerritt. A great sci-fi classic. I mean, it has sci-fi elements in it, but it's mainly a horror movie. Number 32, Once Upon a Time in the West from 1968. I have heard of this movie. I've never seen it. I wouldn't mind checking this movie out, actually. I do have some interest in watching it. This one's directed by Sergio Leone, starring Claudia uh, Cardinale, Henry Fonda, and Jason Robards. And by the looks of it, it looks like a Western, so it's somewhat up my alley. Even though I'm not a fan of a lot of Westerns, that one actually catches my attention. Number 31, The Passion of Joan of Arc from 1928. I do believe this is a silent movie, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. This was directed by Carl Theodor Dreyer. And there's a cast of actors there. And it's all about the Joan of Arc. Yeah, and based off what I'm reading here, it's made at the close, made at the close of the silent era. It's set new standards in screen acting. That's what it says there. Number 30, Star Wars from 1977. But it looks of it, it looks like the original Star Wars. And even though I have never watched the original Star Wars, at least I don't think I have, I agree that a Star Wars movie should be on a list like this. Everybody knows what Star Wars is, even though they never even watched it. Directed by George Lucas, starring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Alec Guinness. Number 29, The 400 Blows from 1959. I've never heard of this movie at all. Directed by Francois Truffaut, starring Jean-Pierre Léaud, Albert Remy, and Claire Mereur. Again, correct me on the pronunciation. I have really no desire to watch that, and I don't have any interest in it either. Number 28, Double Indemnity from 1944. By the looks of it, it looks like a crime gangster type of movie. Looks like it's in black and white based on that picture. Directed by Billy Wilder, starring Fred MacMurray, Barbara Stanwyck, and Edward G. Robinson. Yeah, it's like based on what I'm reading here, film noir, which is all in black and white. A little bit of interest, but not much. I wouldn't mind checking that out eventually. Number 27, I am glad it is on here. Jaws from 1975, one of the great horror movies of our time and of all time as well, directed by one of the greatest directors of all time, probably if not the greatest director of all time, Steven Spielberg, starring Roy Schneider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw. Even if you don't know even if you haven't seen Jaws, you know what it's all about. It's all about the shark. Number 26, The Rules of the Game from 1939. I have never seen this movie before, never even heard of it. Directed by Jean Renoir. And there's a cast of actors here. Nora Gregor, Paulette Dubois, I think that's how you pronounce it. Mila Parley and Marcel Delisle. Yeah, and it looks like some sort of crime drama as well, based on what I'm reading here. Number 25, Rashomon from 1950. I have never heard of this movie at all. I have no desire to see it. Very, very little interest. Directed by Akira Kurosawa. I know that name, though. And it has a list of actors here. I do believe that it's either Japanese or Chinese. I'm not 100% sure. But I have heard of that director. I know when I see the name, and I probably have seen one or two of his movies. Number 24, Do the Right Thing from 1989. I have heard of this movie by name, but I've never seen it. I have some desire to watch it eventually. This one's directed by Spike Lee and it stars Spike Lee, Danny Aiello, Ozzie Davis, and Ruby Dee. Number 23, Persona from 1966. I've never heard of this movie, I don't think. Directed by Ingmar Bergman. starring Liv Ullmann and B.B. Anderson. I have no desire to watch that movie at all. What else is on here? Number 22, The Searchers from 1956. By the looks of it, it looks like a Western. I've never heard of this movie at all. Directed by John Ford, starring John Wayne. I know who John Wayne is. Jeffrey Hunter and Natalie Wood. Holy crap, Natalie Wood. Number 21, Bayou Trevel from 1999. I've noticed, but it looks at that picture. You lost me at that picture. Honest to God, you lost me. Directed by Claire Dennis, starring Dennis Levant, Michael Silver, and Georgie Collin. Yeah, you really lost me at that. It almost looks like a musical, but it's probably not. But that is a movie I have no desire to watch at all. Number 20, I love that it's on here. Vertigo from 1958, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring James Stewart and Kim Novak. I have watched this movie. I probably twice, if I'm not mistaken, but I have watched it once, and it's a really damn good movie. One I don't know if a lot of people talk about as one of Alfred Hitchcock greats, but it should be. Now we're getting into the top 20 here, so this should be like all-time classics on this list. This is one I never heard of. Number 19, The Red Shoe from 1948. There's two directors, Michael Powell and Emeric Pressburger. Yeah, I have no desire to watch that film at all. No desire. Number 18, His Girl Friday from 1940. Looks like an old classic black and white type of movie, gangster type, directed by Howard Hawks, starring Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell. Looks like an interesting movie, but I have very little interest to watch it. Number 17, Grand Illusion from 1937. Looks like some sort of old war vet type of movie. Director Jean Renoir. And it doesn't have the actors on this movie at all. It might be interesting, but I have no interest in actually watching it. Number 16, City Lights from 1931. Obviously, we know who that is if you're a big movie buff. Starring and directed by Charlie Chaplin. One of the great silent era figures of all time, obviously. I've never watched this movie, but I do have some interest into watching it eventually. Number 15, The Dark Knight from 2008. That movie needs no introduction. It's one of the great comic book films of all time and one of the greatest films of all time. Directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale as Batman, but this really stars Heath Ledger as the Joker. And also Gary Oldman and Aaron Eckhart. This movie really needs no introduction. You know what it's all about. Number 14, Bicycle Thieves from 1948. Again, looks like another black and white film. Directed by Vittorio De Sia. Starring... I'm actually going to try to pronounce these names. The cast in here, Lamberto Megaroni, Enzo Staiola, and Liana Carroll. Spaghetti? I don't know why, but when I read Megaroni, I thought of spaghetti for some reason. Again, it's one of those movies I have no interest in watching and no desire to watch it. Number 13, Moulin Drive from 2001. Directed by David Lynch, starring Naomi Watts, Laura Herring, and Justin Theroux. It's one of those erotic type of movies. I have no desire to watch it. I never even heard of it, and I have no interest in seeing it. Number 12, North by Northwest from 1959. Directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Cary Grant, Eva Marie Saint, James Mason, and Martin Landau. Um, yeah, I have some interest into watching that. I never watched it before, but because it's directed by Alfred Hitchcock, who I am a huge fan of, I would love to watch that movie one day. Number 11, Solo Monster, if you're watching, Goodfellas from 1990, one of the great gangster movies of all time and one of my favorites of all time. Directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Lorraine Bracco. That movie, again, it's one of those movies that really needs no introduction. Number 10, Singing in the Rain from 1952. I do have some desire to watch it, but I'm also hesitant because I'm not the biggest fan of musicals. But because it's one of those films that uh, I know people really praise it, I guess it's one of those movies that you have to watch immediately because that's what this list is all about here. This one has two directors, Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen. And it stars Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds. Singing in the Rain. Number 9, There Will Be Blood. Interesting little story. My dad and I took a trip in Toronto last year. It was in one of our places that we stayed. We saw a big, huge collection of movies, and we only still watched like about 5 or 6 of them. This was one of them, and I haven't watched this film before, and I'm glad I watched it because what a tremendous piece of work this is. And I agree, this movie should be on this list. From 2007, this one is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and it stars, to me, probably the greatest mid-foot actor and like just Bisbee type of actors of all time, Daniel Day-Lewis, and also Paul Dano. What else is on here? Number 8, In the Mood for Love from the year 2000. I have never heard of this movie before. I have no interest into watching it. It's directed by Wong Kar-wai, and it stars Tony Leung and Maggie Chung. Yeah, I have no desire to watch this at all. And it says here, why is this one of the best movies of all time? One of the most influential films of the new century. It's a film of rare beauty, a treat for the eyes and heart, but not a treat for me. That movie I don't think is for me. Number 7, Seven Samurai from 1954. I've heard of this movie. I never watched it. I wouldn't mind checking this out sometime in the future. So I will put this on my list of movies that I wouldn't mind watching. Again, Akira Kurosawa. It's one of his films. So yeah, eventually I'll check this movie out. I have some interest into watching it. Number 6, La Dolce Vita from 1960. Looks like another black and white film. Directed by Federico Fellini, starring Marcello Mastroianni, Claudia Cardinale, and Anouk Amy. Correct me on the pronunciations as well. Now we're getting to the final 5 here. Number 5, Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. I have watched this movie, and it's pretty good, and I'm glad it's on here. Directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, and Paul Freeman. And it's all Indiana Jones type of film as well. It's the first one. Number 4. Let's see here. This looks like it's a French film. Jean Dielman, 23. And I'm not going to try to pronounce what's there in French. This film came out in 1975. And it's directed by Chantal Ackerman and stars Delphine Seyrig. I have no desire to watch this movie. I've never even heard of it. And how did this get all the way up at number 4? That's what I'm wondering. Again, I'll pause it there if you want to read some of that. Yeah, that's a movie I don't know. I have no desire to watch it at all. It, but it looks it. Okay, reading some of this, and it says this movie teaches you how to prepare the perfect chicken Sinchazel. It's like a cooking movie or something. I have no desire. That movie is not for me at all. Number three, Citizen Kane from 1941. I did watch this a good while ago. It's a pretty good movie, I thought. Starring and directed by Orson Welles. You know, also stars Joseph Cotton and Dorothy Comagore. It's one of those classic type of movies. Number two, The Godfather. I've never watched The Godfather. I don't think I have. Sometime eventually, I will probably watch it. I know. I think Robert De Niro and Al Pacino might be in this. Let's see. Yeah. Well, yeah. Al Pacino. It's directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Marlon Brando, James Caan, and Robert Duvall. Yeah. If you know your movies, you know what Goodfellas is. So I'm glad it's on there. And number one, 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1968. That's number one. I agree with that being number one. Now, I'm sure there are a number of movies I'm thinking of that should be on here but are not. I don't remember seeing The Wizard of Oz being on here. I actually, unless it's in part one from 151. It could be, but I don't remember. So I'll have to double check back on this list from top to bottom. So let's talk about this. Number one on the TimeOut article for the top 100 best movies you should watch immediately. Number one is 2001: Space Odyssey. To me, this is a classic science fiction movie, probably the greatest sci-fi movie of all time. And it really holds up to this day. This movie is way ahead of its time. And it's directed by Stanley Kubrick. And it stars Keir Duella, Gary Lockwood, William Sylvester, and Douglas Rain. And let's actually read some of this. The greatest film ever made began with the meeting of two brilliant minds, Stanley Kubrick and sci-fi seer Arthur C. Clarke. And in quotes, I understand he's a nut who lives in a tree in India somewhere, noted Kubrick when Clarke's name came up. Along those of Isaac Asimov, Robert A. Heinlein, and Ray Bradbury as a possible writer for his planned sci-fi epic. Clarke was actually living in Ceylon, not in India or a tree, but the pair met, hit it off, and forged a story of technological progress and disaster. Hello, Hal. That's steeped in humanity. In all its brilliance, weaknesses, courage, and mad ambition, an audience of stoners wowed by its eye-candy Stargate sequence and pioneering visuals, adopted as a pet movie. We're not in it for them. 2001 might have faded into obscurity, but it's hard to imagine it would have stayed there. Kubrick's frighteningly clinical vision of the future AI and all still feels prosthetic more than 50 years on. I 100% agree with a lot of stuff that's been said about that. So, number one on this list, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Oh, and the soundtrack. I mean, you can't go wrong with that opening theme song for this movie. And still, people remember it. Ric Flair uses it as an entrance in professional wrestling. So, when you know that piece of music, the two things that I think of are 2001: Space Odyssey and Ric Flair. And that is this article of the top 100 best movies that you should watch immediately from Time Out. And that has been episode number 23 of The Rock On Wild Show. And I'm going to leave you all with a quote, and it goes something like this: Missing loved ones who are no longer with us can be incredibly challenging. Cherish the moments you had together and find comfort in knowing that they're always watching over you. Their spirit and presence can be felt in the little things: a gentle breeze, a meaningful song, a fond memory. And as you navigate through this difficult time, know that you are not alone. Reach out to friends and family for support, and remember that your loved ones would want to see you find peace and happiness in your life. Embrace the love that remains and keep this spirit alive in everything you do. This has been episode 23 of the Rock Out Wild Show, and I'm your host, Just Mike. And on a final note, to all of you watching, get plenty of rest and always do your best.